Donald Trump just declared war on Britain's Prime Minister, and the King of England is secretly backing him. What you're about to see will change how you view UK politics forever. Hit that subscribe button. Because this story is exploding across every major news network right now, and you won't want to miss a single update as this diplomatic crisis unfolds. 3 days ago, Donald Trump delivered what can only be described as the most brutal political assassination in modern diplomatic history. This wasn't a casual criticism between allies. This wasn't a diplomatic disagreement behind closed doors. This was a public execution broadcast live to millions, targeting Britain's Prime Minister with surgical precision. "You don't tell Americans what they can say," Trump thundered during a primetime interview, his voice cutting through years of diplomatic courtesy like a sword through silk. "And you don't put people who broke the law into five-star hotels while your heroes sleep on the streets." The numbers behind Trump's fury are absolutely staggering, and they tell a story that has British citizens erupting with rage. While decorated military veterans, men and women who risked their lives for Queen and country, are sleeping rough on London's freezing streets, Starmer's Labour government is spending £250 per night on luxury hotel accommodations for illegal migrants. That's $310 per night, folks, per room, per person. We're talking about 4-star hotels with ocean views, fully equipped gymnasiums, unlimited buffet meals, and room service. Meanwhile, a 67-year-old former Royal Marine named James Patterson, who served 3 tours in Afghanistan, was found last week sleeping in a cardboard box outside a London McDonald's, surviving on leftover chips and the kindness of strangers. The contrast is so morally jarring that even hardened political commentators are struggling to defend it. But here's where this story goes from outrageous to absolutely explosive. King Charles III, the constitutional monarch of the United Kingdom, a man who has maintained careful political neutrality for decades, just shattered royal protocol in the most dramatic way possible. At a veterans' charity gala, just 48 hours after Trump's attack, the king delivered what can only be interpreted as a direct endorsement of the American president's position. "Those who have served this nation with honour and courage," King Charles declared, his voice carrying unmistakable moral authority, "deserve our utmost respect, our deepest gratitude, and our care before all others." The emphasis on "before all others" sent shockwaves through the political establishment. Palace insiders speaking on condition of anonymity are now confirming what many suspected. The king has been privately furious about the veteran homelessness crisis for months. Senior courtiers describe him as deeply troubled by images of former servicemen sleeping rough while government resources flow to those who entered the country illegally. But the royal intervention goes deeper than public statements. Sources close to Buckingham Palace reveal that King Charles has been in discreet communication with veteran support organisations, personally funding emergency shelter programmes that the government has failed to provide. He's not just talking about the crisis, he's actively working to solve it while his own Prime Minister appears paralysed by political calculations. The alignment between Trump and King Charles has created a perfect storm of political legitimacy that Starmer cannot survive. When a foreign president and your own constitutional monarch find themselves on the same side of a moral argument against you, you don't have a policy disagreement, you have a legitimacy crisis. Inside 10 Downing Street, the panic is palpable. Sources describe Starmer as visibly shaken and increasingly isolated as the crisis deepens. His weekly cabinet meetings have become damage control sessions, with senior ministers openly questioning whether the government's priorities have become politically toxic. The public reaction has been unprecedented in its intensity. The hashtag number sign, Veterans First, has been trending in 17 countries for 3 consecutive days. Number sign, has Starmer resigned, is gaining momentum hourly. Social media platforms are flooded with images contrasting luxury migrant accommodations with heartbreaking photos of homeless veterans, creating a visual narrative so powerful that even Starmer's most loyal supporters are struggling to defend it. Trump's first strike was devastating, but he wasn't finished. What came next was a calculated second-wave attack that targeted the very foundation of British democracy, free speech itself. The Online Safety Act, Starmer's flagship digital legislation, has become the focal point of an international freedom of speech crisis. This law, which critics have branded state-backed censorship on steroids, grants the British government unprecedented power to control online discourse, not just within the UK, but globally. Under this legislation, American social media companies, Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, Reddit, Discord, must comply with British speech restrictions or face penalties that could run into billions of pounds. The implications are staggering. A foreign government would essentially have veto power over what Americans can say online. You start letting other countries decide what our people can say, Trump warned in his follow-up statement, and you lose the very freedom that built our nations. This is bigger than politics. This is about the survival of free expression in the democratic world. The White House immediately clarified that Trump's comments represent official US policy, not just personal opinion. Within hours, the State Department issued a formal diplomatic note expressing grave concerns about the extraterritorial reach of British content regulation. American tech giants began emergency strategy sessions, with several major companies quietly drawing up contingency plans to relocate key operations out of Britain to avoid compliance costs. The economic implications are already materialising. The long-awaited comprehensive US-UK trade deal, a cornerstone of post-Brexit economic strategy, has been quietly shelved pending resolution of the digital governance dispute. British tech stocks plummeted as investors realised that the UK might be pricing itself out of the global digital economy. But the moment that truly broke Starmer's government happened in the most British setting imaginable, the House of Commons during Prime Minister's questions. Conservative MP Sarah Henderson rose from the opposition benches holding a large photograph of James Patterson, the homeless Afghanistan veteran. The chamber fell silent as she spoke with controlled fury. "Mr. Speaker, I ask the Prime Minister to look at this photograph of James Patterson, a man who served 3 tours defending our freedoms in Afghanistan. Can the Prime Minister explain to James, to this House, and to the British people, why his government believes it is more important to silence American voices online than to provide this hero with a warm bed?" The question landed like a bomb. Starmer, visibly flustered, attempted to deflect with standard political rhetoric about complex challenges and balanced approaches. But his words sounded hollow, defensive, and completely tone-deaf in the face of such a direct moral challenge. The entire exchange was captured on parliamentary cameras and within minutes was trending across every social media platform. Trump himself shared the clip with his 87 million followers, adding just 8 words that sealed Starmer's fate. "This is the question Britain deserves answered." The video has been viewed over 50 million times across all platforms. It's been translated into dozens of languages. International news networks are running it as their lead story. And most damaging of all, British citizens are sharing it faster than any political content in recent memory, because it crystallises their frustration in a single devastating moment. Nigel Farage, sensing blood in the water, has launched what he calls the Veterans First campaign. Reform UK, his political party, has surged by 8 points in national polling in just 3 days. Even more alarming for Labour, the party is hemorrhaging support among working-class voters, their traditional base, who see the veteran crisis as a betrayal of fundamental British values. The revolt isn't limited to opposition parties. Labour's own backbenchers are beginning to fracture. At least 12 Labour MPs have signed a letter calling for an urgent review of migrant accommodation policies. 3 junior ministers have requested private meetings with the Prime Minister to express concerns about the government's direction. But perhaps most damaging of all is the international dimension. Trump's intervention has given permission for other world leaders to question British policy decisions publicly. Australia's Prime Minister has expressed concern about UK content regulation affecting Australian users. Canada has requested clarification about how the Online Safety Act might impact cross-border digital commerce. What began as a domestic policy dispute has metastasized into a full-blown sovereignty crisis, with Britain increasingly isolated from its traditional allies over questions of free expression and moral priorities. The visual storytelling writes itself. Every evening, news broadcasts feature the same devastating split screen, luxury hotel suites with room service menus and spa facilities alongside footage of veterans huddled in doorways. The contrast is so morally stark that it transcends political partisanship and strikes at basic human decency. Yesterday, a leaked government document revealed that the Home Office has approved spending over £1.2 billion annually on migrant hotel accommodation, enough money to build 3,000 units of permanent veteran housing. The revelation has sparked fresh outrage and given Trump's criticism an even sharper edge. For Starmer, the damage appears irreversible. You don't recover from being simultaneously criticised by the President of the United States and subtly rebuked by your own monarch. You don't survive viral videos that expose the moral contradictions at the heart of your governance. And you certainly don't maintain political authority when your own MPs are questioning your judgment in real time. Trump has achieved something that seemed impossible just a week ago. He has fundamentally altered British political discourse from across an ocean. He has forced questions that British politicians were too cautious to ask. He has given voice to frustrations that millions of citizens felt but couldn't articulate. And he has exposed the growing chasm between government priorities and public values. Whether you admire Trump or despise him, his intervention has revealed a fundamental truth about democratic governance. When foreign leaders start defending your citizens more effectively than your own government, you have crossed a line from policy disagreement into legitimacy crisis. The storm between London and Washington shows no signs of subsiding. If anything, it's intensifying as more details emerge about government spending priorities and as public anger continues to build. At the centre of it all stands a British Prime Minister who looks increasingly isolated, increasingly defensive, and increasingly finished. This isn't just a political crisis anymore. It's a referendum on the soul of modern Britain, fought in the court of public opinion, with the world watching every devastating development. This story is far from over, and the implications stretch far beyond British politics. What do you think about Trump's unprecedented intervention in UK affairs? Is he right to call out Starmer's policies so directly? Should King Charles have stayed completely neutral, or was his subtle support for veterans justified? And most importantly, what does this crisis tell us about the future of free speech and democratic values in the Western world? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. This is the political earthquake that's reshaping international relations in real time. The mainstream media won't give you this level of analysis, so make sure you're subscribed and hit that notification bell because developments in this story are breaking by the hour. When the next bombshell drops, and trust me it will, you'll want to hear about it first. This diplomatic crisis is just the beginning of what could be the most significant realignment of Western politics in decades. Don't miss what happens next. The future of democracy itself might depend on how this plays out.